Hollow Earth. Now, this is just a good old-fashioned conspiracy theory. And trust me, this one has got everything. Here's what it is. Some people believe that the Earth is not solid, but actually completely hollow. And not just hollow, but home to a robust civilization of superhumans, or aliens, or even Satan himself. And today, we're gonna explain where this theory comes from. Why do people believe this? Everyone from sci-fi writers to even the Nazis had an unusual fascination with Antarctica and the center of the Earth. And finally, I'll tell you what I think about this bizarre and strange theory. So, if you are a fan of the weird, quirky, and unusual, explained in a, fun way, you're in the right spot. So, sit back, relax, and welcome to camp. What's up, people, and welcome back to camp. My name is Mark Gagnon. I'm joined by my good friend and longtime friend of the show, my good friend Miles McCreary. How are you, buddy?
I'm back, everybody.
He is back. This time off camera, and I think playing chess on his computer. So you have no concern of any quips or any reincarnation stories that you don't like. Anyway, today we have a fascinating story, a fascinating topic. Again, if you're not familiar with this show, this is my tent where I jump into the most interesting, fascinating, controversial things, stories, and ideas of all time through all history, right here in one place. And today is no different. Today we're talking about Hollow Earth. Ugh. If you don't know anything about me, know this. I was homeschooled by a conspiracy theorist until the 5th grade. And then I went to a very small conservative Presbyterian school, which as a Catholic was controversial. But that was my upbringing. I was raised by a conspiracy theorist. I was at home arguing and debating with her about Freemasons and predictive programming in Lady Gaga music videos as a child. So, of course, that is going to, change my perspective and taint the way I look at the world. And so I have a fondness for conspiracy theories. I find them fascinating. I like to dive in and look at them and analyze them because I do find that there's oftentimes little threads of truth. Sometimes it's just, an interesting story, or sometimes intentionality put on someone that you can't actually prove, but, it kind of makes sense, or it's all retroactive. Or maybe it's looking for, trying to make sense of the randomness of the world, and it actually makes you feel better to know that there's, some type of evil force that's making everything go along. Who knows, right? It depends who you ask, right? My mom and I, we've debated this at length. But I like conspiracies because I think they're just fun to dive into. It's interesting to hear, this is actually how things work. And Hollow Earth is no different. It seems like a lot of conspiracies these days, they get a little serious, they get a little dangerous. They start making you feel not so good. That's why I like to jump into the old conspiracies, the OGs, the classics. And Hollow Earth is a classic conspiracy theory. Not one I particularly subscribe to, but there are all sorts of interesting intersections where this, ties in with science and mythology and literature and spirituality, and the Nazis, of course, are always tied in with all this weird shit. So, without further ado, let's dig in. That was Miles's joke. So if you didn't laugh, just let's get a fuck Miles in the comments. Anyway, so what is the Hollow Earth theory? Great question. Just at its core, okay, no pun intended, the Hollow Earth theory is suggesting that at the center of our Earth, underneath our feet, is not some type of molten core, with lava and all that stuff. No, it's actually completely hollow. And not only is it hollow, but this vast interior space is a home for hidden civilizations, ancient, advanced beings, aliens, or potentially even, ecosystems, animals, all sorts of stuff. Some versions of this theory propose that there are entrances at the North and South poles, and there are, apparently the Nazis were interested in. There's all sorts of fascinating theories that go along with Hollow Earth. But where did this come from? Where did who thought of this in the first place? It goes all the way back to 1692 with the astronomer Edmund Halley, or Halley. I'm assuming it's Halley. I always pronounce it Halley's Comet, right? Miles agrees. No. You missed the boat.
I did. Missed the comment.
So the story begins in 1692 with the famed astronomer Edmund Halley. You probably heard of this guy. Halley's Comet flies around, every 100-something years. So this guy, Edmund Halley, he's trying to explain the magnetic variations and some like strange atmospheric phenomena. Okay, just from an astronomer's point of view, he's working and doing his astronomy, but there's these aberrations in the magnetic field, and he doesn't know why. And so he proposes this idea that the Earth consists of several concentric shells rotating at different speeds around this hollow core. And this theory, obviously, it seems crazy today, but at the time, it represented like a real attempt to explain this phenomena that people, and scientists were stunned by, that they couldn't explain. But what's interesting about this fantastical theory is that Edmund Halley was not the first person to, sort of think about what was at the center of the Earth. No, not at all. Alrighty, don't skip forward, guys, because I am on the road, world's fastest ad read, coming at you. I'm going to be at Stroudsburg, Hoboken, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Raleigh, Poughkeepsie, Portland, Oregon, Fort Worth, Texas, Austin, Texas, Stanford, Philly, Levittown, Chandler, Arizona, San Diego. I'm also going to be adding Toronto, Montreal, as well as Washington, D.C., and a bunch of other dates. You can get all that in the description, also in probably the comments of this episode. Go see me on the road. Come hang out. I'll be hanging out with everyone after the show. Come shake my hand. Call me an idiot. Whatever you want to do, I will be there. Additionally, I will be doing my 1 hour of stand-up comedy. I'm very proud of this hour. I'm really excited to share it with you guys, and it would mean the world if everyone could come on out. And what do you wear to a show on the road? That's a great question. You can go to campgoods.co. That's right. We got merch. We got camp merch. We got hats, hoodies, t-shirts. A lot of stuff is out of stock. Things have been selling like hotcakes, but we're going to be restocking everything in all the sizes. So you can go there right now, get all the merch, get all the coolest clothing in the podcast game. We're going to be updating that site regularly. And if you come out to a show, I'd love to see you sporting some of the threads that we got up online. I will see you guys there. Let's get back to the show. This goes all the way back to ancient times in old mythology. That's right. Greek mythology, Hades ruled the underworld. Where's the underworld? It is this subterranean realm where, spirits of dead people and, your grandma, whatever, that's where they would go. Everybody. They'd all go to the underworld, which is not just some pit of darkness somewhere. It is an elaborate kingdom with rivers, like Styx, fields of punishment, the blessed realm of Elysium. All sorts of cool stuff. It was a whole city. It was like a subdivision of like a town or something. And the Norse cosmos, they also had this. They had this place that was known as Svartalfheim. Svartalfheim. It's an underground home of dwarves, basically, and craftsmen who make magic weapons and artifacts for the gods. Of course. Where else are they going to live, right? Dwarves are pretty short, so center of the Earth seems like a good spot. Eastern traditions, they talked about underground kingdoms, like the Buddhists. They talk about Agartha and Shambhala, while modern interpretations place these as like, that they're not necessarily beneath the Earth's surface. Traditional texts describe them as spiritual dimensions, but, sometimes people say maybe it's not so spiritual, da-da-da. It's contested, Native Americans even, they got their own thing. Their mythology says that some of the most direct connections to underground worlds happen through the native culture. That's how they connect with their ancestors. Many tribes trace their origins to the emergence of the Earth itself. So a lot of native tribes, like for example the Hopi people, they believe that there's an existence of three like previous worlds beneath the current one, and humanity is climbing upwards through the hollow tree branch or the hollow reed to reach each new realm after the previous one was destroyed. The Navajo speak of the first people emerging from 3 underground worlds before reaching the current surface world, which again just demonstrates how this concept of this subterranean realm it's persisted in human consciousness for a very, very long time. Fascinating, right? But the modern theory doesn't really take shape until like 19th century, all right? So 1818, you have this U.S. Army officer, this guy, John Cleves Symmes Jr. Call him Johnny. He becomes the theory's most like prominent advocate. He's the one that makes it just, go crazy. And he declares that the Earth is hollow. And not only is it hollow, it is habitable within, quote unquote. His idea is known as the Symmes hole theory, which is hilarious. To name a theory after yourself and include hole. This is the Gagnon's hole theory. Or like the entire theory. Like, no, it's about his hole. And what he proposed in the Symmes hole theory is basically that the Earth is hollow, habitable, and has openings at the north and south poles. These polar openings, which he then termed, obviously these Symmes holes, were about 4,000 miles in diameter. Pretty big. 4,000 miles in diameter. That's like the size of the entire United States. And on either end of the Earth, that's a portal to the middle. He claimed that these entrances just gradually curved inward, allowing ships to sail effortlessly from the outside to the inside without ever even realizing that they crossed the threshold. It's just it's silly now, obviously, but I don't know, people didn't know. It seems crazy to me. I feel like in 1818, people had some idea, People were like, yeah, that is absurd. Like, who would believe that? Again, this guy had all these theories. He had it all worked out. And because he was, military, people were like, oh, maybe there's something here. So again, he says at the edges of these openings, there's ice and seasonal weather patterns that, make it impossible to discover. Convenient. The interior of the Earth, according to this guy, was not only, hollow, but habitable. He suggests that the inner surface gets enough light and warmth from a miniature sun suspended in the center of the cavity of the Earth. And this internal sun creates a temperate climate through the inner world, making the animal life and vegetation. It's awesome. He's got this sick ass, internal Earth thing, which would be cool if it existed. You go on vacation in the middle of the Earth, it'd be awesome. And the atmosphere apparently is clean, and there's no pollutants from the outside surface. And maybe the craziest part about Symmes' entire theory is that the Earth consisted of 5 concentric spheres nested inside of each other, separated by layers of atmosphere. Each of these shells was said to have, its own gravity, and he believed each sphere harbored distinct civilizations and ecosystems. All right. He was crazy. I don't know how else to put it. He puts this whole theory forward, and people buy it. People love the idea that there's a civilization at the middle of the Earth. And they're like, dude, this guy's in the military. Why would he lie? Well, so this is where it gets fascinating, right? This guy, Johnny Symmes, proposes this theory, and people believe it, kind of. He gains a cult-like following throughout Ohio and Kentucky, Ohio, where he's from, and goes on these speeches and does these large tours. Think like a TED Talk in the 1800s. And he's just going around, having these conventions, talking about Hollow Earth, and people are loving it. Sometimes hundreds, maybe even thousands of people gathering around to hear this guy talk about what he believes is happening at the center of the Earth. Of course, it sounds a little crazy, but what's interesting is that it does spark a movement in a way. And I think touches on something interesting about human beings, that we're interested in, the unknown, that even in this time, we got flat earthers today. There's always been flat earthers. There's always been people believing in, these insane theories. And at this time in history, it was no different. But what's fascinating is that he inspires a gentleman by the name of Jeremiah Reynolds. Now, again, this guy, John Symmes, he's petitioning Congress. He's trying to get Congress to come forward and give him a grant to actually go to the center of the Earth through this, tunnel system through the poles. He never gets funding. The United States government says, no thanks, we're good. But this guy, Jeremiah Reynolds, this guy's fascinating. So he's a newspaper editor and a public speaker, and he was a true believer of Symmes and his Hollow Earth theory, and he toured the country in the 1820s giving lectures, basically, the same thing that Symmes was doing about the polar regions and about Hollow Earth and how important and fascinating the polar regions were. And over time, he ended up speaking to more and more people. He ends up kind of changing his perspective away from pseudoscience and becomes an actual researcher that wants to explore the poles of Earth, specifically the South Pole. And so what does he do? He, with his media background, creates this public fascination with polar exploration. He lobbies the government in the 1820s and 1830s, specifically Congress and the Navy, to fund a South Pole expedition. And early on, he was kind of laughed at, and they sort of shoot him away. But his messages caught the attention of naval officers and scientists that were interested in making a name for themselves. And so they kind of started putting plans together to actually do a South Pole mission. It's crazy. And Reynolds was eventually kicked off the mission due to, political infighting and just kind of being a crazy person. But his relentless advocacy inspires, like directly, the Wilkes expedition, which becomes the first major global exploration mission, specifically going to the South Pole. And on that mission, they chart 1,500 miles of the Arctic coast and basically proved that Antarctica was a continent and not just, scattered random islands. It was actually a solid, glob. So this one guy, John Symmes, basically inspires a movement that discovers Antarctica because he was crazy. I shouldn't say he was crazy. I think that's kind of rude to call people crazy. But because he had these fringe crazy theories that obviously were wild, but he did inspire an entire movement to go discover Antarctica. So shout out to Johnny Symmes, legend. If you want to go check out his statue, he's got a giant statue in Ohio that his children put up for him. It's right there right now. Now, these theories from old John Symmes and our good friend Jeremiah Reynolds get even more popular and actually inspire a movement, specifically a literary movement. This guy, Jules Verne, you probably heard of him, famous author. 1864, he writes his masterpiece, a brilliant work of fiction known as Journey to the Center of the Earth, which at that point, once this book drops, the entire American public is captivated with this idea of what's at the middle of the earth. And Verne didn't really embrace the traditional hollow earth concept, of course. His vision of vast underground caverns, prehistoric life, subterranean seas do popularize the idea of these habitable realms underneath our feet. And his careful attention to science, although dated by the standards of today, lent credibility to this idea of maybe there are underground civilizations. Who knows? And not only them, Edgar Allan Poe and Edgar Rice Burroughs, two famous authors and poets in their own right, they take different approaches. Poe writes The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym in 1838, using the idea of polar openings to create this mystery horror, while Burroughs creates a series that imagines a complete world on the inner surface of the Earth's crust, eternally lit by this, central sun. Okay, so this is the part in the Hollow Earth story that gets fascinating. So, 1946, you have a little thing known as Operation Highjump. This is awesome. You should absolutely read the Wikipedia page on this. Okay, this is a classic conspiracy. This happens in 46 under the command of this guy, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. And this is basically the largest Antarctic expedition in history. The mission involves almost 5,000 people, 13 ships, a bunch of aircrafts, and the stated purpose is to establish an Antarctic research base. That's what they're doing. They're going down there, they're making Little America 4, and this is just a spot where they can, test out some military equipment in polar conditions, just in case there's a war with Russia or something. Give them a little playground that's freezing. And the scale of this operation is insane. It's larger than any typical research mission ever, right? At this point, it's massive. And with these massive expeditions to bizarre and unusual places, of course, it is going to fuel a lot of speculation about the true purpose. So, again, there's a lot of rumor and conspiracy and myth with a lot of this, so I'm going to try to parse down exactly what is real and what's not as best I can. So, the expedition, while officially, it's successful in its mapping and research objectives, it ends 6 months earlier than they planned. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, hey, how is that possible? What federal research mission ends earlier, on time, under budget? Never happens. Everything always goes later. But this one, 6 months earlier than planned. Official reports cite that the deteriorating weather conditions, and, that's the reason that they had to, pack it up. But this premature conclusion has become a cornerstone of many conspiracies, specifically the Hollow Earth conspiracy theories. Believers suggest that the mission encountered something unprecedented beneath the ice, forcing its early termination. They point to all these different scattered reports of unusual aerial phenomena and, UAPs, unexplained equipment malfunctions during the expedition. Maybe the most controversial aspect is it emerges from an interview with Admiral Byrd published in El Mercurio, a Chilean newspaper, where he allegedly, big allegedly, warned about flying objects capable of traveling from pole to pole at incredible speeds. While this interview's authenticity remains, disputed, it has become a foundational text for those who believe the expedition discovered evidence of, some civilization, maybe at the South Pole, maybe in the center of the Earth. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because we have a new sponsor of the show that I'm so excited about that I need to tell you. So listen up. Our food is important. What you eat is who you are. It's how you think, how you feel, how you work out. It basically encompasses everything. But unfortunately, our food doesn't have the nutrients we need to be our best. And that's where Symbiotica comes in. Symbiotica is the greatest supplement brand in the world. And here's why. They got all these different supplements. I actually take these every single day. Specifically, the magnesium L-threonate. I take this before I go to sleep, and it helps me sleep better. Magnesium is amazing for helping me go to sleep. Look it up. There's studies everywhere. And this is great because it tastes amazing. It's not some pill. This is the L-threonate. It's sublingual. It actually gets in your blood system faster and will make you sleep better, perform better the next day. And when you sleep better, your hormones reset better, you get stronger, you work out better, all that. Vitamin C, same thing. You need that. It should be in your food, but it's not. And that's where Symbiotica can be the cure. And then, of course, you got liquid colostrum. You probably had colostrum right when you were very first born. If you were breastfed, your mom made colostrum. It is nature's first superfood. It is super dense in nutrients, and right here it is in this package. It'll make you feel amazing. So if you want to perform better at the gym, if you want to perform better at work, if you want to think faster, if you want to be more social, even talking to women, oh, I don't know what to say, I jam up, I get nervous. It's possible some of that anxiety is because you are nutrient deficient. You feel bad. You don't have the adequate stuff in your body to make you be at your best. So if you are interested in being the best you that you can be, go to symbiotica.com/camp for 20% off your order plus free shipping. That is symbiotica.com/camp for 20% off your order and free shipping. This is all stuff I actually use. I'm weirdly obsessed with my health and nourishing my body, and this is the stuff that I take, which is why I'm so excited to tell you guys about it. So check it out, and let's get back to the show. Now, his alleged experiences during his Antarctic, flights have become central to this mythology, specifically this discovery of like an entrance. And according to believers, Byrd's personal diary, published after his death, describes flying, these ice walls of, the Antarctic and this warm, lush region beyond the ice walls, complete with mountains and forests and lakes, where there should only be ice, but instead of ice, it is lush. Almost tropical. The most sensational claims involve Byrd's encounter with representatives from an advanced civilization living in the earth. Yes, this is what people claim. This is allegedly from Admiral Byrd's personal journals. Again, the authenticity of these journals have never been reported. Most people dispute them, and they say that these are falsifications or fabrications. They're not true. They're hoaxes. But according to the believers, this is what they say. The beings express concern about humanity's development of nuclear weapons and warn about the dangers of continuing on this path. While, again, no evidence supports the authenticity of the diary, the contents have become deeply embedded in conspiracy culture all over the place, specifically Hollow Earth stuff. The contrast between Byrd's official reports, which focus on, scientific observations and, mapping and all the normal stuff you can imagine. And these alleged secret discoveries highlight the gap between, the documented history, but then also the narrative and the more interesting conspiracy history. While Byrd's actual accomplishments in polar exploration were honestly amazing, right? He mapped a ton of the Antarctic. He actually was the guy, for the record, that did the first flight over the South Pole. A lot of these achievements have become overshadowed by the idea that he met up with alien Donald Trump at the center of the earth. Like some type of leader came out and was just like, "What's up, dude? We're living downstairs. Can you guys keep it down? Less nukes." So it gets even wilder, right? So even in Symmes' time, the scientific community overwhelmingly rejects all these ideas. They say this is not true. The Hollow Earth thing is BS. Newton's law of gravity says that an immediate and insurmountable basically it disputes all of the Hollow Earth stuff. He says it's not possible. The mathematical models that Newton proposes demonstrate that any large mass in space would collapse under its own gravitational force into a roughly spherical shape, with the densest materials settling at the center. Not hollow. not open at the top and the bottom. We're not going to let that get in the way of, having a fascinating little convo about it, right? The fundamental principle of gravity meant that the hollow planet would be inherently unstable and would collapse. Maybe it's possible there are hollow planets, but then they get collapsed into solid cored planets. But let me just say, Admiral Byrd, with the good old boys in the United States, wasn't the only person that was interested in Antarctica and maybe figuring out this hollow Earth situation. The Nazis, oh yeah, it always gets to the Nazis, these bastards. They also have a connection to some version of hollow Earth in their own way. I did a different episode where I talked about the Tool Society. This is this occult group that had a lot of sway and influence over early Nazi leadership. Many of the early Nazis, they were a part of this sort of secret group, and they would meet and kind of share ideas. And members of the society maintained that an ancient race of Aryan superhumans originated from a subterranean civilization. Nothing crazy about that. And some of the Nazis allegedly incorporated these beliefs into their pseudoscientific racial theories. Again, Aryanism being a leading idea within, Nazi propaganda. They assert in some cases, again, it's not like Hitler's out here doing this at his speeches, but according, Heinrich Himmler, some of these other guys close to him are discussing these ideas that perhaps there is a subterranean society of Aryans that will come out once the Germans take over the world. This, I do believe at some point these guys were sitting around drinking, like an ale, like some type of like German big stein of beer, talking about this stuff. Crazy. It's like, it sounds insane now, but they were trying to find Thor's hammer. They were doing all sorts of stuff. Maybe the most interesting Nazi Hollow Earth connection is the theory, perhaps we should phrase it, that the Nazis discovered entrances to the Hollow Earth during 1938-1939 Antarctic expedition. I mean, crazy. So if you don't know, the Nazis went down to the Antarctic basically like in the middle of World War II. They popped down there, looking specifically, I believe they were looking for whale fat. They were trying to set up whaling stations to get fuel to keep the war going. They were also using it for, trying to find trade routes and all sorts of other stuff, things you could imagine would be beneficial in war. But there is a theory that they went down there and they discovered an entrance to Hollow Earth, and they established hidden facilities where they developed advanced technology. These stories gained traction in the immediate, like, post-war period. Like, people talked about this. They found out about all these projects that they were doing, and it fueled, this real, like, genuine curiosity surrounding these Nazi projects and a disappearance of a lot of Nazi officials, and if there was a connection with Antarctica. There's even, this is crazy. I don't even know if anyone believes this, but it's worth bringing up because I found one guy that actually believed it on Reddit. He believed that Hitler escaped, that he didn't die in a bunker. All right, I'm with you. That's possible. But he didn't go to Argentina. No, he went to Inner Earth. That he escaped to Antarctica and then used their portal that they found to get to the center of the Earth, which is where Hitler lives. Hilarious. Just truly, like, this is why I love conspiracy theories. Is that not the funniest thing you've ever heard? That Hitler just hit a Mario pipe and just popped down to the center of this whole shit and is just chilling down there with the rest of his gay Nazis? Like, that's hilarious. So, again, the theory has no historical basis. They've obviously proven that Hitler... Actually, let me say this. Maybe they haven't proven that he didn't go to the center of the Earth, all right? But I don't think it happened. Maybe he didn't die in the bunker. I'm actually open to that idea. It's possible. They looked at the Russian skull of Hitler, and obviously the Soviets have Hitler's skull, and they examined it, and they said it was a young woman, not Hitler. And then they stopped kind of letting people look at it. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe Hitler was trans. Has anyone put that theory out there? Maybe he was born a woman? Maybe Hitler was born a woman. He's an artist in Vienna, exploring himself, teed it up, you know what I mean? Lopped off the tatas, and then became old hitty boy that we know and love. Maybe not the love part that we all know, that we all are familiar with. And then that's why he grew such a bad mustache. He was on T, and the mustache wasn't thick enough. It was just a little in the middle. And then he kills himself. They find his skull, and they examine it. They're like, dude, this is a woman's skull. Hitler didn't die. You're right. Hitler didn't die. But Hitlerina. I mean, whatever his real name was. What do you think, Miles? We got anything on that one? You think it's possible?
I didn't think you were going to get there. I didn't think you were going to be able to pull it all back, but you sort of did a good job.
What do they say? Comedy's getting away with it?
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we did. The comments will say that we did not. So, where does that leave us today? Are there modern believers of this hollow earth? Almost undoubtedly, because every minute there's another fucking dumbass that's born that believes in the hollow earth. Look, again, I love conspiracy. You don't got to get me wrong. Do I think Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK? No. Do I think that there's a civilization under the earth? Also, no. Aliens in the water? Who knows? Hitler under the ground? Probably. I mean, no, for sure. I mean, what? Anyway. Contemporary versions of this inner earth idea evolve far beyond Symmes's, simple hollow world stuff, right? You have new science that then can be twisted and sort of used to create new theories. Modern proponents describe a complex society in the middle of the earth, multiple cities connected by high-speed transit. They got rail down there, probably. They got better high-speed rail than America. Imagine that. They got probably a whole thing. They got Burning Man. They probably got a whole thing cooking under there. They got a universal spiritual philosophy that promotes peace and environmentalism. This seems like a liberal's dream. Maybe that's how we solve all the political problems in America. We just send all the libs to the center of the earth. You're like, dude, you guys got high-speed rail, universal oneness, and environmental stewardship. What else do you want? Oh, sunlight? Fucking stop. You guys are all pale anyway. You live in Portland. You can handle the center of the earth. And let me just say, the people believe this kind of stuff. They believe that this advanced society at the center of the earth, they monitor what's going on the surface. They see what we're doing, nukes, and they're going to intervene if we keep on, threatening, which I think would be the only upside to nuclear war. Let the record show that as things get closer, maybe we get some freaking dope-ass aliens. They come up and they're like, yo, you got to stop with this nuke stuff. And they actually stop the show. And they come from the center of the earth. And they're like, yeah, we've been living downstairs the whole time. And we're like, what? That's crazy. They're like, yeah, we got Hitler too. We're like, what? Why'd you guys take him in? And they're like, dude, he's a socialist. And we're like, oh, that's a good point. He fit in with all the liberals in the middle of the earth. Anyway, we're off the rails here, Miles. Anyway, it wouldn't be a hollow earth shakedown without talking about Agartha. This is I mentioned this a little earlier, it's the vast kingdom that spans the entirety of Earth's interior. And this is, believed by a lot of different, esoteric traditions. It's a mythology that's kind of drawn upon, by the Tibetan Buddhists. Some Hindu mystics will, subscribe to ideas like this. And according to these believers, the civilization possesses technology beyond what we have, gravity-defying objects, life extension methods, clean energy. They claim, that Agartha is this utopian society where the spiritually enlightened and the, scientifically advanced go and live in perfect harmony, governed by, this hierarchy of spiritually evolved beings that, talk about ancient wisdom all day. And believers point to ancient texts describing these underground realms like Shambhala and Patala. And they interpret these metaphors as literal descriptions of physical places. Again, these are metaphors that often talk about these spiritual realms, perhaps, these subterranean spiritual realms that, the enlightened people go to. And sometimes these mystics will extrapolate that and say, no. Do you know what that's worth? Subterranean heaven is a place on earth. And so these modern Agarthian, claims, they said there's a bunch of entrances. You can get to the center of the earth a bunch of different ways, including, not only, the Great Pyramids of Giza, Mount Shasta in California, and a bunch of routes in the Himalayas. Most intriguingly, believers assert that the citizens of Agartha regularly communicate with the selected earth dwellers through telepathy and astral projection. That's right. You want to talk to some advanced people in the center of the earth, you just got to close your eyes, lay in your bed, astral project, talk to them. And these claims often come with these, sort of self-proclaimed contactees who report receiving wisdom and prophecies from their inner earth masters. So if anyone, talks to you about their inner earth buddies, that's where that's coming from. So why does this exist? Why are people so fascinated by Hollow Earth, right? You have this guy, Admiral Byrd. He goes down there. It becomes a big conspiracy theory. Maybe he was doing some weird stuff. I don't know. Probably not. But why does the theory exist regardless, right? The Nazis go down there looking for, fuel to keep the war going. But then all of a sudden that becomes a big conspiracy. Like all these people, they're trying to tie in this idea that there is these societies that live under the earth. I don't know. It's possible that this psychological drive, kind of for this unknown knowledge, this hidden, truth, perhaps like an advanced technology. I mean, people have been looking for advanced civilizations or even ancient advanced civilizations for the longest time, right? Atlantis, all these places. And maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe there's some validity. Again, I don't know. But I think that might be the on the way to go into the Hollow Earth civilization, right? And this desire to find, truth kind of leads you to this path that you're like, all right, I'm talking to people in the center of the earth. The theory resonates with individuals who harbor a fundamental distrust of, institutions, scientific authorities, which again makes sense. You don't got to tell me, right? Trust the science. It's like, all right, what did the science tell us to eat in the 90s? They're like, oh, mostly bread. You're like, all right, well, that's not good for you. And so, of course, there's going to be skepticism. That happens. Also, why did they say to eat bread? Oh, the grain lobby is forcing them to put it on there. Okay, well, money gets in the way of people actually trusting the government. Crazy. So you have a bunch of people that are disenfranchised with the science, the medical establishment, the scientific, institutions that create policy and create ideas for our society. So what do? They follow these little fringe theories. They get into it. Again, Hollow Earth is not some type of alternative scientific model. It is a
underground theory.
Say again?
Underground theory.
It's very underground. That is underground as it gets. I mean, you're 3 for 3 on puns right now.
Thanks.
You didn't even want the mic for that one. You're like, all right, I'm just going to hit it with that. So, I don't know. I find Hollow Earth to be interesting, fun, but I'm not particularly compelled. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I got to tell you about a dirty little secret, okay? The insurance industry doesn't want you to know this. Well, basically what the insurance companies do is that they profit by holding on to your money as long as possible. You pay them every month, and then eventually when an accident happens, they try to deny or delay your claim so that they can keep their profits going. I mean, it goes even worse. When in court, the insurance companies want jurors to think that the at-fault driver, a mom that rear ends someone, she's a single mom, and they think that she is going to be paying the verdict amount. Meanwhile, it's really the insurance companies who are going to be covering the cost. And that's why I want to tell you about the good folks over at Morgan & Morgan, because they will take on the case, and they are almost always going after the big insurance companies and not the individuals at fault. Morgan & Morgan fights hard for their clients, and these corporations know that, and it pisses them off. A recent client in Pennsylvania just received $29 million. The insurer's best offer, $500,000. Yeah. There's another client in Florida that received $20 million, and the last offer from the insurance company was $0. There's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. So if you are ever injured or dealing with an insurance company that doesn't want to pay up their fair share, you could go check out Morgan & Morgan. That's right. Hiring the wrong law firm can be disastrous, and hiring the right law firm could, be a big, substantial increase to your settlement. And Morgan & Morgan makes it so easy to get started. Their fee is free unless they win. There's literally no risk. Unless they win your case, you're not paying a dime. And with Morgan & Morgan, it's never been easier. I'm telling you. You just go to forthepeople.com. That's right, forthepeople.com, and use the code GAGNON, GAGNON, or dial pound law. That's pound 529. That's forthepeople.com/Gagnon, or dial pound law. That's pound 529. And this is a paid advertisement. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the show. What's up, guys? We're going to take a break really quick because I'm sitting here in my beautiful tent, as you can see, every week, day in, day out. And people always ask, they say, Mark, how do I have a tent like that? I want to sit in a beautiful tent and invite a lover, a friend, someone that I appreciate and adore. I want to give them a good time inside my tent. Well, it's easy. Thanks to the good folks over at BlueChew.com. That's right. Blue Chew is the original OG brand offering chewable tablets. And what do these tablets do? Oh, I'm glad you asked. They are going to give you the
just a stronger, harder, and longer lasting sexual performance. That's right. They're going to help you pitch a tent any place, anywhere. And the best part, it's all done online. That means you don't have to go to a doctor's office and, talk to him and be like, oh, I'm feeling some type of way. Look, this is not for people that are, lacking necessarily. This is for people that want to have the best experience of their life, whether it's Valentine's Day, birthday, a funeral. Who knows? Whenever you need it, you never know when you could use Blue Chew. And we have a special deal for the listeners of this program. That's right. Try your first month of Blue Chew for free. That's right. Completely free. Mark, is it going to work for me? Hey, it's free. Why not just try it? Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. All right, now let's get after it and let's get back to the show.
So there you have it, folks. That is the entirety of the belief on Hollow Earth. Again, I find it fascinating because I think it highlights a few different things, right? I think it shows the sort of theories of, how science kind of evolves. You have people way back in ancient Greece kind of following these spiritual traditions. They're like, maybe there's Hades, maybe there's this place under the ground, yada, yada. And then that eventually goes into actual science. We have guys like Edmund Halley being like, yo, how does all this work, right? Like these magnets, you have these aberrations, what's going on? And then you have people that jump on those ideas. And then they, are looking for this hollow earth explanation. And then that turns into actual funding and research that then creates a expedition to the Antarctic. And then you have, the U.S. government going down there and actually flying over the South Pole. And then you have the Nazis going. It's just crazy. Like the entire lineage of all these different things all tied together to create one cohesive story about something that kind of makes no sense. But it also highlights something interesting. Like we want to believe human beings have a desire to try to figure stuff out. And I guess what could be, people look in the stars and like, what's going on out there? It makes sense. You'd look at the ground and be like, what's happening underneath? I can't wait till they drill a hole all the way through. How lit will that be? What do you think happens? You think magma comes up? If they get a hole all the way down to the center of the earth?
I think it gets too hot. I don't think we can get there.
But there must be a way, right?
No.
There could be. I mean, this is like asking someone in Kitty Hawk, like, oh, you think they can fly? And they're like, no, it's impossible to fly.
Yeah, I think you just hit. Have we even got past the crust?
I don't think so.
That's crazy. So we actually don't know what's under there.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like no one knows under. It's definitely, I shouldn't say definitely, probably not hollow.
Yeah, but we don't. I mean, like,
but what is it?
We really don't know. How far have we got down?
Let's find out. I have no idea.
The Kola super deep borehole.
Oh hell yeah!
It's in Russia.
7.6 miles.
That's not far.
That's not far at all. And the temperature down there is 356 degrees Fahrenheit.
I can run that, and that means it's not very far.
Not at all. Rocks behave plastically at the depth.
Wow.
Like you're just going through plastic. And so as a result, it's hard to drill.
Weird.
And yeah, you got it. Like the drill bits just break down. Maybe pour some water in there.
How wide is it?
I don't know.
Could you fall in?
Oh, that'd be crazy. Dude, a 7-mile fall to the center of the earth. Imagine that's what Jules Verne's novel was. Journey to the Center of the Earth. And it's just one of those falls.
32 pages. Ah!
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it just dies. But yeah, dude, the Earth's crust is 70 kilometers thick. And we haven't even broken through the crust.
So we have no idea.
Whoa. Well, we do know it's probably not hollow. You got, right, geology, seismology, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is, but someone has concluded, and I tend to believe him because it just is a little too out there for me. But if it's wrong, I apologize.
That's crazy. We've gone to the moon.
Yeah.
And not even 8 miles the other direction.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild thing to say.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they know it's magma. I guess they're just assuming.
Yeah.
What's at the center of the sun? You think the same shit?
Isn't it fully gaseous the whole way through?
Oh, that's a good point. So, there must be a center. So many cool questions out there.
Yeah, I think it's plasma and gas all the way through.
Let's find out. Does the sun have a center? Oh, called the core. The core is the innermost 20% of the sun's radius. It's around 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. And it's 340 billion times the Earth's atmosphere.
Is it still gas? What is it made of?
It's plasma.
Oh, I
High
called it.
pressured
I called it.
soup of charged particles.
Also, I like that they say how hot it is. They have no idea. I mean, at that point, just keep bumping the number up.
See, I think Nate Bargatze had a bit about this, but like it is very funny. He's like, how come scientists are allowed to be wrong? Like you have a scientist, they'll be like, yeah, the universe is 2 billion years old. And they'll be like, actually, it's 4 billion. Did that first scientist lose his job? He was completely wrong.
Yeah, that's very true.
Wasn't even remotely close. He just like not even, he was twice as wrong. He could like, right? Like what's 2 plus 2? 2.
Yeah.
No, it's actually not 2, it's 4. Like, oh, well, if you said the wrong thing, then there's no penalty? Scientists can just come up with shit and then no one gets mad at them for it.
I also like the scientists can pick numbers that are just specifics. Like the specificity of numbers is so interesting. If you look at the height of Everest, I think it's like a almost round number.
Probably not.
It's specifically so close to round that, in my opinion, when I look at it, I'm like, should be somewhere in the middle. It should be like I think it's 29,032 feet.
No.
The 32 feels almost like they got to 29,000 and it was exactly that. And they were like,
No one's going to believe it.
toss some numbers on.
That is a good point, right? Like imagine your boss is like, yo, check out how tall Everest is. And you're like, all right, we got it. And it comes out as 29,000. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
There's no way anyone's going to believe it's 29,000.
But if I told you it's 29,484, you'd go,
Yeah, sure.
great. Perfectly
But
odd.
I actually believe 29,032 because if you're going to lie, there's no way you're going to put 32. If you're going to lie, you're going to make it 432.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like if
Yeah.
you were to make up a fake phone number, it wouldn't be like 97100000032.
Yeah.
You'd put some other numbers.
Yeah.
So if some girl gives you a number at 00032, it's a real number.
I had a friend whose last 4 digits of number was 4 zeros.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's kind of
cell phone number.
Are you able to get custom cell phone numbers?
I'm sure.
Like a vanity plate?
Yeah, I'm sure it has to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I guess. I mean, no, of
actually,
course.
no.
No, I think you can because think about all the like law firms.
Oh, yeah.
You know, dial
Are those-
407-999-999-999.
Yeah, but that's like toll. There's something toll free or something. I think that's.
What is a toll on a phone call?
I don't know.
Call toll free.
Yeah, call toll free.
I'm paying money for this shit?
Isn't the toll the noise it makes before you? No, the burn.
What? Who's paying it?
Yeah.
Me? Was
I don't
that
know.
was that a thing that stopped people from
What
calling
happens?
people?
You ever seen the one where, like, if you get a call out of like a jail, does that cost money?
Oh, like you are currently being connected to the
corrections facility, blah blah, and it costs you money. I think
No. Well, I guess it probably should. Like, if you're in
someone
jail,
got to pay for it.
do they? Why? Like,
Dude, I don't know how
every
any of this
call is
works.
tolled because I'm paying AT&T to put my call through.
Do you remember when you didn't have to use your life was small enough you didn't use the area code?
What do you mean?
Like
No.
when I was a kid, I knew all my friends' phone numbers growing up. I could still tell you every one of my friends' phone numbers from childhood. No area code before. Because when you're in the area code, if you just dial 7 numbers, it defaults to your own area code.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
No way.
The cell phones have ruined this. This is why we all have to use area codes. But on a house phone,
What?
yeah, you're on the local line. That's local.
Like on a landline?
Yeah. I would call my friends' houses, and we had an old rotary phone, and I never did my area code. It was just 7 numbers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
You're ancient.
I'm not ancient.
You're
My
old
parents
as
are just
fuck,
old.
dude. You're 50. That's crazy. What a world, dude. What do you think? What do you think people back in your hometown think about Hollow Earth? You got any family that subscribes?
No, I think that one's like a little too far outside.
It's a little too wacky.
It's not even that it's too wacky. I think it's almost too like old. Like it feels like an old timey thing.
Yeah, but those are kind of charming to me.
Yeah, they are charming. I think this one is incredibly charming of a conspiracy because it's like no one died. It's
Right.
very like 1920s, like feels like a play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just like a nice little warm snack before you go to bed.
Yeah, the conspiracy has nothing to do with like awfulness,
No,
which
just,
all modern days conspiracies.
it all gets so serious.
Yeah, they're awful.
They're like, dude, did we go to the moon? And they're like, wait till you found what they found up there, dude.
Don't we think didn't someone think the moon was hollow or something?
Fake? Made of cheese?
Wait, why was that?
Cheese thing? I think it was like a movie or something.
But yeah, it feels like a black and white film. It really does feel like a black and white film. Like Journey to the Center of the Earth is also very old school. All of this is like a very fun conspiracy, and I think anyone in my family or just anyone I know that's
They like the mean ones.
conspiracies, they're all just so up to date on like what's going on.
The people believe that the moon is made of cheese came from the 1500s.
Whoa.
It was apparently satire that people misremembered as belief.
Huh.
So the English in the mainland Europe, they had folk tales of this naive character, often called the fool or the yokel. And he sees the moon's reflection in water and thinks that it's a round wheel of cheese. And these stories were meant to mock the gullible and to, they didn't literally believe that the moon was made of cheese. But then as time went on, people started to believe that, back in the day, people believed it was made of cheese. And then like Looney Tunes did it, Wallace and Gromit, they like bit it. The world never changes. Also, for the record, no one really believed in flat Earth ever.
You don't think so?
Almost never. Like basically, like it like stopped like fairly recently. Or no, it stopped way back in the day. But then people misremembered it, being like, "Oh yeah, back people used to believe in flat Earth. They thought they were going to fall off." Like Christopher Columbus did not think he was going to fall off the Earth.
Huh?
And it's just one of those things that gets misremembered. I think we'd look at people back in the day. We're like, dude, they're so dumb. Like,
yeah, you think they're dumber.
We're so smart with our freaking iPhones. Like, we're sick as hell. Just looking at tits and cats on our phones. Like, dude, we're so much smarter than them.
Apparently, Godzilla and King Kong both come from Hollow Earth.
Yeah. No, there's a persistence in pop culture today. Like, there's a lot of pop culture folklore that has like video games, comic books. Godzilla King Kong in 2021 reimagined Hollow Earth as the source of prehistoric life.
That's cool. I like that. It's a fun place to get them from.
Right?
Yeah, that's a fun one. I like that.
So, anyway, this has been our exploration to the center of the Earth. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Camp. This is my tent where it all happens. If you're interested in seeing me on the road, I have tour dates. I'll put that in the comments below. And I just like hanging out with y'all. So if you want to join me again, we'll be putting out these episodes twice a week, perhaps even thrice a week. And you can find me right here in my tent. Sometimes it's Miles, sometimes it's Christo, sometimes it's a random person that joins me. And we just figure out the most interesting, fascinating things from all time, throughout all history, throughout every society ever. We're going to get to the bottom of it all. See you guys in the next one. Peace. If you've made it to the end of this episode, that's because you rock with us. And for that, we rock with you. You are sophisticated. You enjoy honest, true communication, a highbrow type of person that understands this. History is not just dates and names. It is a tapestry of human triumph and tragedy. From the day Nostradamus made his first prophecy to the morning Paul Revere took his midnight ride, from ancient oracles to modern revolutionaries. That is why I need you. If you have not already, please sign up for Today in History, our free newsletter. Today in History brings you the stories that matter, the moments that changed everything, and the secrets hidden in time. Join thousands of history enthusiasts who get their daily journey through time. Don't let another day of history pass you by. Take the conversation to your inbox. Sign up now through the QR code or link in the description. Today in History, because history's stories shape tomorrow's world. Thank you for watching the episode. We'll see you next time.